The main focus for today is the public discussion, but I'm gonna lay out where we're coming from and lay out some facts we feel everyone needs to know. Not everyone may agree with what we're saying, but you will have a chance to have your input when I'm finished this. We will go around. Again, once we start the public discussion, we ask everyone to keep their comments, their testimonies, their views to 3 to 5 minutes out of respect to everyone else here, because we want to hear from everyone who wants to share today. We did specify in building up to this event that we will not tolerate any racism today, so if that occurs, those people will be removed. That doesn't mean you can't share your views, and but just don't cross that line.
The dictionary definition of racism or the new definition?
According to the
Dictionary?
The Human Rights Act and Canadian Criminal Code, that's what we're following today. Whether you're aware of this or not, we believe Canada is being rapidly transformed into a post-national globalist village. I will present facts today that support that basic premise. We believe Canada's traditional population, comprised of Anglophones, Francophones, and including Aboriginal people, will be relegated to a minority if this mass immigration continues, and I will provide data to support that. We believe this organized replacement of Canada's traditional population, our founding people of Canada, the pioneers, the settlers who came to Canada, who with no government handout made a life of their own, living off the land. It is these Canadians that we believe are the Indigenous Canadians. They became Canada. They created Canada, the institutions. These people are being replaced. This is unprecedented in world history, that a government is actually replacing its own founding people. But this is reality if you look at the data. As I said, for us, mass immigration is rapid, radical, organized replacement of Canada's traditional population. And these are the facts. Mass immigration has been going on for decades and decades. It started under Pierre Trudeau, and it got worse under Brian Mulroney, who unlike Pierre Trudeau, allowed mass immigration during recessionary times. And then it's just accelerated from there if you look at the data. More and more people coming in. It doesn't matter which establishment party is in power, the same mass immigration agenda is going on. The Canadian people have never been given a direct say on the transformation of Canada. There's never been a referendum, never been a national dialogue. When Pierre Trudeau in 1971 declared Canada a multicultural country, the supermajority of Canadians believed and supported Canada as a bicultural country. And that's our true heritage of Canada. We are bicultural. Sure, we have lots of immigrants in Canada, but the true heritage of Canada is biculture, including Aboriginal heritage. As I mentioned, sustained mass immigration started in the 1990s under the Conservative Party and Brian Mulroney. That was 250,000 plus a year regardless if there was a recession. Harper let in just under 3 million immigrants between 2005 and 2015, with some of the top immigrant countries being the Philippines, India, China, Islamic Republic of Iran, Pakistan, and from 190 countries. From 2016 to 2018, almost 1 million immigrants were let into our country. If you go to the federal government website, they plan to let in 450,000 by 2025. These are facts. These are all just facts. There's no discussion on this agenda, no discussion on upping it more and more. Now I'm going to look at the demographics of mass immigration. And for this presentation, I can't go into all the details. There's so many layers, so many facts, but my purpose today is just to give you an idea of what's happening. And this is based on Statistics Canada data and projections for Canada. Percentage of Canada's population, visible ethnic minority. And you can see how the demographics and the transformation of Canada is happening. 1981, 4.7% of Canada's total population was visible ethnic minority. 1991, 9.4%. 2001, 13.4%. 2011, 19.1%. 2021, 25.4%. Projection for 2036, 34.4%. Projection for 2100, 80% plus. This country, if this agenda continues, will be completely transformed of the founding people of Canada. This is a fact. This is what's going on. And you may be in favor, you may be against it. You will have your opportunity to speak today, but these are the basic facts, whether we want to accept them or not. And we'll add further, this demographic shift, transformation is accelerated by high fertility rates of certain visible ethnic groups. Significant decline in European immigration. Between 15.4% and 17.8% of Canada's immigrant population could have been born in Europe in 2036. But in 2011, the number was 31.6%. Look at the decline. 31.6% in 2011, and they're projecting by 2036 it'll be dropped down to 17.8%. So we're taking in way less European immigrants. Oppression of Canada's traditional population is contributing to this. Attacks on free speech. Gross discrimination in job hiring. We hear stories across the country. European Canadians are being completely discriminated through affirmative action, even though they're more qualified for jobs. Especially at the federal government, municipal governments, provincial governments. This is all tied to UN Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, and now the UN Migration Pact, which we oppose, which is basically open borders to Canada. It's saying people from the world have the same rights as us in Canada. This is wrong and something we oppose. Agenda 2030, this isn't some conspiracy theory. Go to the federal government website, they actually talk about it, how much they endorse it. There's so many municipalities in Canada that have endorsed it. Well, without consulting their people. There's provincial governments that are endorsed it. We oppose it. This Agenda 2030, Agenda 21 is a direct attack on Canadian sovereignty. It's a direct attack on Canadian sovereignty. And it's all about the global world order. That's the truth. I'm going to look at the impact of mass immigration now. The first and most important one is economic. The Federal Administration of Immigration, Citizens, and Refugees costs in excess of $24 billion of your tax dollars every year. That is a fact. Look at the budget. And it keeps going up. New immigrants are taxation negative, and we calculate to at least $40 billion a year. And is growing as more immigrants come in. And what this means, taxation negative, means that the new immigrants coming in are consuming more services than taxes paid. We estimate that mass immigration is costing the Canadian taxpayer around $60 billion a year lost. And it's probably more. That's our estimations. As I mentioned when I was talking to the CTV, the economic migrants were changed under the current government. Now an economic migrant is classified as an unemployed foreign university student, unemployed foreign graduate student. There are thousands and thousands of foreign students coming into our country, which is fine, but there's economic consequences from that. They're making it harder for Canadian workers to find work. Apparently a lot of these students from abroad are working for cash. I've talked to immigrants from India who've been here 9 years. They can't get work because these students are undercutting them for cash. This is really troubling. And they don't have jobs. They're coming in as an economic migrant and they don't have jobs. When Trudeau went to India, I have the newspaper clipping, but when he was in Delhi, one of these administrators put a front page ad praising him for allowing so many students in from India. Do you know why he was praising him? Because he's probably a millionaire now. All the money he's making off all these students coming in. How are we benefiting? How are we benefiting? Also, there's a net outflow of revenue to homelands from immigrants coming to Canada. They have not integrated, they're tied to their homeland. We estimate there's $24 billion at least outflow. So this is fine, this is their money, and they choose to give it back to their homeland. But how is it helping us Canadian people? We want people to integrate, yet all this money's flowing out. And I'll give you one example, the Pakistan Prime Minister. He's getting so much money from abroad. From all these Pakistanis living in Canada, Europe. They're just sending billions to them. He's saying, send more, send more. But how's that helping us? We're letting people in our country, yet they're working here or they're getting benefits, and then the money flows out. This is not sustainable from a business standpoint. It's not sustainable in terms of a country. There's a racket going on with immigration. There's criminal activity, we believe, going on. There's money changing hands. These administrators, that's why we support a temporary pause. This thing is crooked, it's a mess, and the majority of the Canadian people are being harmed, in our opinion. I can't go into all the studies on immigration, but I've read a lot of them, because I take this issue very seriously. And I will say, there is no correlation between immigration, let alone mass immigration, and increased economic growth, and increased individual per capita income. There's just no correlation. And there's a number of reports on this. And there was a report recently on the 450,000 plan saying it's going to have maybe 0.2 impact on GDP. What about all the other impacts? Also on economic, there's minimal correlation between immigration and addressing an aging population, and also a population with low fertility rates. this argument is used to justify the mass immigration. We don't accept it. New immigrants, as soon as they come to the country, they're aging. And then with chain migration, they're bringing grandparents who are aged. They may be bringing aunts, uncles, who else coming in. So they're bringing their own aging population to our country. That's why there's minimal effect on an aging population. And I've read reports, if we didn't accept a single immigration, the decline in Canada's population would be so gradual over time. So gradual. I looked over like 60 years, it might drop by 5 million or something. So this is a bit, we don't accept this argument. Like I said, the chain migration nullifies any impact on an aging population. And as soon as they're here, they're aging. I'm going to talk about the environment, the impact on the environment. We talked to immigration researchers. One guy, John Meyer, he's been researching immigration for 40 years. He estimates 95,000 hectares of farmland are being bulldozed every year in Canada. 80% due to immigration. Just more people coming in. See, the problem with this, when these immigrants move to towns, small towns in Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan, other parts of the country, these towns are formed around the prime farmland of Canada. As they expand, they're actually eroding into the best farmland in Canada. This can't be good for us. Just keep that in mind. 95,000 hectares of land a year being bulldozed. Concrete, buildings, whatever, put on it. I'd be happy to reference that report at the end if anyone wants to read John Meyer's report. Global, I mentioned this at the beginning. Our mass immigration policy, you could argue, is highly unethical, highly selfish, and counter to the greater good of this world. It's a brain drain on developing countries that need their brains because they are not developed and they're struggling. Also, it's encouraging overpopulation in those countries by allowing them to have like almost a safety valve out. So we're just adding to the problems in the world through this mass immigration. Getting back to environment, we are overpopulating our country. That's what we're going to end up doing. We're putting stress on our wildlife already. They're losing habitat. And it's only going to increase. There's going to be more stress on the ecosystems due to expanded development and overpopulation. And sure, we have a big country in the world, one of the biggest geographically. But due to the climate, most of us live near the southern border. I don't think many people want to live up into the Arctic or close to the Arctic. So please keep that in mind as well when you're looking at mass immigration. Society. There's increased crime, and this is a fact. Some people deny this. There's increased ethnic enclaves spreading across Canada. It's proven. Go look online. Even the mainstream media talks about it. Go look it up. Ethnic enclaves. These ethnic enclaves are very disturbing because it means segregation in the fabric of our communities and society. And we believe it will eventually lead to what's going on in Europe, where they have over 900 no-go zones across the country. Even globalist Merkel admitted the no-go zones in Germany. And do your research on Europe, it's horrendous. Even Hillary Clinton came out the other day saying what a disaster, what an absolute disaster the mass immigration in Europe is. And we don't want that coming to the US. So Canadians, wake up, do your research. Go look at the videos in Sweden. The epidemic rapes. These migrant ghettos, these no-go zones, the violence, the cultural violence, it's happening. This isn't made up. And now it's mainstream. Hillary Clinton even brought it up. I think she brought it up just for political purposes, trying to take Trump's base away. I don't believe that. I don't believe her myself, but you make up your own mind. But she made it mainstream issue now. But look at Europe. We're about 10, 15 years behind Europe. 10, 15 years behind Europe. And we will start getting no-go zones. And these are places where you don't want to step into. Culture. As I mentioned, in our opinion, there's a radical, rapid transformation of Canada into a post-national globalist village. And this translates into suppressing, oppressing, pushing into a minority Euro-Canadians who founded our country and the values that they bring. Traditional cultures, values, heritages are rapidly being replaced. And you can see that in the demographic shift. And there's people coming here who do not share the same values. And we've had immigrant members testify on this, give testimonies. They don't believe in democracy the same way. They don't share the same value of freedom and other issues. It's a big concern. Then you tie it into the ethnic enclaves. More and more, it becomes a bigger issue. Our heritage, too, is rapidly being replaced. Statues are being torn down. This is happening. In the schools, the stuff they're teaching our kids, to not be proud of Euro-Canadians who founded our country. Sure, there was some bad, but there was a lot of good that they did. And it was us, European Canadians, that invited other immigrants into our country. Why are they coming here? There was Islamic prayer in the Saskatchewan legislature. I know people were upset over that. And that just shows the democratic shift and the change in the country. Erosion of freedoms. We can look at M103. C51 before that, which I'm against both of those. And I think a lot of people are aware of the erosion of freedom. There's censorship going on. We've been censored. We can't go to venues and talk because they're afraid of the truth.
Well said, Steve.
And I want to praise the Sheraton for at least allowing us to hold this today. It is a step in the right direction. This is just free speech. If I break the law, fine. Arrest me. But don't take my free speech away. Or anyone here. This is happening. And some people here know it more than me. I think the troubling aspect too is the replacement of traditional ethnicity. We believe ethnicity matters. We believe it's the glue in our communities that binds us as a people and a country, and we're losing that. It's being diluted, it's being replaced. I'm just going to finish up here. I just want to outline how we're going to deal with this mess and this potential catastrophe facing our country. We do not want to go down the path of Europe. Trust me, look at what's going on there. The epidemic rapes, the spread of no-go zones, the Sharia courts in the UK and other parts of Europe, the female genital mutilation going on, it's going on here too. We don't want that in our country. It is not consistent with getting the greatest prosperity and security. It's going to hurt our country on so many fronts, and I'm looking forward to hearing what people have to say. But I will just finish off. I just want to outline what we stand for, what we would do, because I don't want to paint all doom and gloom, because we feel we have a really good policy to deal with this mess. As I mentioned, we want a temporary pause in this immigration. It is absolute mess. There's money changing hands, and it's 11-year backlog. We gotta get this mess straightened out. Job number one. We don't want any terrorists coming through. They came through the other government. We think they're coming through this government. Like that Edmonton terrorist came through. He was rejected by the U.S. and they let him in here. That's how fluid our borders are. Can you believe it? And that sick guy, he drove into our innocent people and harmed some police officers. That's sick. And we have the gratitude to let that guy in our country, and that's how he treats us. This is wrong. We need a temporary pause. We're not against immigrants at all. I'm from an immigrant family. We have immigrant members. We have to stress that. I know some incredible, hardworking immigrants. I love them as people. Doesn't matter. I have people, friends from all different backgrounds. But I don't tolerate supremacy or racism. And it's pretty unfair to label so-called white supremacists. Supremacist takes many forms. Don't be fooled. And some of the worst forms are not white. So just remember that. We shouldn't have a dialogue on white supremacy. We should have a dialogue on supremacy, period. And stamping it out. We want 50,000 or less a year in immigration. That's what we're committed to. We will bring the best people into this country. They will add to our prosperity, our security. They will integrate. They will be great Canadians. People you want to go up and hug, shake their hands, welcome them into your house. They will add to the fabric of Canada. That's what we want. Our people must come first. And I told that to the CTV and the other media. Our people must come first. There's around 700,000 seniors living close to poverty or in poverty right now in Canada. That is unacceptable. There's veterans on the street begging. There's over 3,000 veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. And I've been in contact with some of them. It's horrible. Yet the government says they don't have enough money for them. And the previous government didn't have enough money either, so I have to be fair. Like I said, we would like what they did with the Quebec law. They had great financial incentives for larger families, and that's something we would implement. Back in pre-Confederation, the Quebec law. They had very high fertility rates, and it was partly attributable to financial incentives. There's zero incentive in our society. They're pushing abortion on everyone. It's so counter to a larger family. But we accept the woman's right. I don't want to get into that issue. We have a policy on that, but we got to start encouraging larger families, in our opinion, and that's something we're committed to. Immigration should only be a supplement to our country. It should not be organized replacement. We will deport all legal migrants from the U.S. They have no right to cross our border. There's a safe third country called the United States, and they should file for asylum there. And therefore, we have to respect the rule of law. We have to respect the Canadian taxpayers, the Canadian people, and we will deport any illegal migrant crossing from the U.S. It's not that we don't care. We're not going to be exploited. And they can file for asylum in the U.S. This is beyond unacceptable what's happening in Manitoba and Quebec. And I went there. I went to Roxanne. I talked to neighbors there. And we have a video on that. But that's unacceptable in our opinion. You may not agree with me. And also, we support ideological screening. The 50,000 we would let in, there's no chance they would have radical extremism. They wouldn't have values that are inconsistent with our liberties and civil rights. They will not come into our country. We don't want that in our country. We don't need that in our country. It's harming our country. For obvious reasons, I don't need to stay. That's just obvious. It's common sense. We will keep them out. And it's about security of our people, our communities, and this isn't immigrant or not. We have immigrants here who agree with me, and they will speak today. They know what's going on in their countries where they came from, and they will share stories today about this that will elaborate. This is all tied to the United Nations, which I went into, and I'm just finishing up here. We will end all voluntary funding for the United Nations and UN affiliates. There's billions of dollars that flow out. We don't know where it's going.
Thanks, Stephen Garvey, for inviting me here. And there's a good turnout here. It's really impressive. I have the Alberta side of things. I want to reinforce. I wasn't going to do the presentation, but Steve got a lot of it. I just want to pick out a few points that he touched on, which you hit really well, and I want the general public to understand some things. 3 weeks ago, I was privileged at the University of Alberta to meet the UN. I got to meet one of the council members, that's the Security Council, and I noticed a recurring theme, and it's kind of from the media, it's definitely from our government. And they always say, we gotta leave the UN, or you see the Trudeau side where UN this, that, and Steve hit it, he said, voluntary agreements. We have to leave voluntary agreements, okay? The UN is built by the Security Council, that's 5 members. They are our allies. That was China, Russia, USA, UK, and France, okay? Those are the defining members of the Security Council. The other 192 nations in total of the UN don't have any power whatsoever. That includes Canada. So they use fancy words along the way. Human Rights Council. Now, that's not the Declaration of Human Rights. That's the Human Rights Council. That's a voluntary organization. It's a sub-organization. If you don't have all 5 of those allied members from World War II signing on, all 5 of them together, it's not legally binding on the international scene. It's voluntary. Our federal leaders jump on these non-binding agreements and they say, oh, we got to do this. It's for the UN. You have to break down each and every treaty. There are only 2 treaties, Geneva and Vienna. Those are the only 2 that we're binded to. It's like joining a union. Something I know quite a bit about is you pay your monthly dues. In the UN situation, it's annual dues. And so with those dues, it's 2 treaties, 2 binding treaties signed by all 5 members. There are several throughout that time all the way to present that have been ratified by all 5 security members, but 90% of them have not been, so they're voluntary. That's the Human Rights Council that's only 15 years old. This is where we start to get into our mass immigration, folks. Please read and understand. The Declaration of Human Rights, signed in 1948 by almost every nation of the world, goes into unemployment. These are what nations are all supposed to achieve, and they match very close to Canada's own Charter of Rights and Freedoms and our Constitution. And the gentleman here today has a little brief flag on that Constitution. But if you look at that Declaration of Human Rights, that's a real close impression of our Constitution. And inside that is several articles that go into unemployment, national borders, about protecting that, because we don't want another World War III, okay? That was the whole intention of it. That's what the Allies did. 100 million people were lost in World War II, okay? And we've seen what communism's done, and that's another 120 million. That's since the war, okay? And we're supposed to be standing against that. We're supposed to have our secured borders. Immigration is supposed to be a function, like Steve said, and he hit it. It's supposed to be a function on when we have opportunity, when our unemployment rates are so low that we can't get the demand. Right now, we all know, especially in Alberta, at a 7.2 right now is our unemployment rate for Alberta. That's not a time to bring in immigrants. It should be a tap. And that was the design of the UN that we're supposed to follow, the only binding that we have. And you know, they're trying this agenda, this Human Rights Council, when you look at it, 15 years old, it is China. It is 9 of the worst human rights violators are running the show here. It's not even the Security Council. And we're not forced to be a party to it. Our leaders choose to be, and they fund it. They fund 2 different sides of it, right? And we do see the Muslim extremist countries, and you can look, these are horrible human rights violations. I'm not saying all Muslim countries, but the 9 that are on that list are brutal, savage, and it's awful. So I'm going to leave that at that, but I'm going to get into Alberta now and some of the statistics we're seeing. From 1993 to present right now, in 1993 we had 2.6 million Albertans, and our birth rate was 87% and our immigration was 17%. Fast forward to now, our birth rate with 4.3 million people is almost a little bit less than what it was with 2.6 million, okay? Our standard of living has gone down. The new generation can't afford to have the children, and we're all seeing it. I know all the grandparents here in the room, you know what I'm talking about. I'm a father. I may look a little younger, but I have a 25-year-old son. I got 2 girls, and my son can't make it. He's doing all the right things. He's not a screw-up, right? They say this millennial generation. Hey, he got his trade ticket. Now he's only working partial years. He's not working full. This is mass throughout Alberta right now. And they're saying, well, Rachel Notley is saying, oh, we're bringing up jobs. Well, that's in the service sector. And we got to understand the difference between service sector and private sector.
2011, I came to Canada. Why I chose Canada? Because this great country with great people, with great democracy, freedom speech, and fairness, justice, everything good so far. The reality prove the West civilization, West political system, and the West culture put together is the best society so far, most successful society on the earth, on the planet. This is the last Chinese came here. So my answer, in my point of view, do we need legal immigrant? Yes, we need, from every aspect. Do we need illegal immigration? Just like so-called irregular immigrant from U.S. border, cross U.S. border direct to Canada? No, we don't need. This is invasion. Do we need to accept immigration, mass immigration or refugee arranged by the UN, United Nations to Canada? No. This is also invasion. We must stop this. We must protect today I know. In Ottawa, in Toronto, Ottawa, and Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver, yes, 3 big cities. There's big protest against Justin Trudeau government. He might sign the agreement with United Nations to accept 1 million Somali refugees next year or this year or every year 1 million. I don't know how many years. Looks there are 245 million refugees in UN on the list. UN will distribute them to some countries. So far, no, 10 countries already withdraw this agreement with UN, including the USA, Australia, some East European country. 10 countries already stopped this agreement. So the 3 big cities protest today, they are aimed to stop this agreement, don't sign the agreement with UN, since this Canada is country, is a family too. As a family, you will invite some guest, a nice guest or mean people to your place. If these people disagree, don't love your, respect your culture, your way of life, why you invite them come? As a family, you should, everybody as a member, we as Canadian, just like a member of family, Canada family. So everybody has responsibility to defend your home, your motherland, your future, your kids' future, your grandkids' future. This is your responsibility. So everybody should give birth more kids and educate your kids. Love Canadian culture, love Canadian heritage, love the culture, love the religion, like Catholic, like Christian. For us Chinese, we came to Canada, majority, more than 70-80% Chinese women became Christian. More than half Chinese men became Christian. We believe good society is good religion. Discipline control your behavior. You feel you need discipline your behavior. You can do something, but you can do something since they are God watching you. So this is how the society where everybody will behave well. But of course, not just only religion. There should be bigger, very, very designed well law to control. So people were scared. Don't make crime. So, and everybody working hard, everybody contribute what you can contribute to the society. This is how society can become better and better, and people are very nice, just like me. I came to Canada. First, I feel very surprised, very fresh, very interesting, and very touched and very moved my heart. Just because everybody, they are strange, but they laughing at me, they are smiling at me, and they hold the door for me. It's very nice, but for you guys, you grew up in this environment, you think it's normal. But for us, it's kind of very fresh, very touched, moved. This is a very small aspect, means this is good culture. Everybody polite to each other, honest. My will get lost on somewhere, but somebody called me, said, oh, we found your wallet, come to the office, pick up at some mall in Calgary. So, and also I want to tell people how I get into Canada as a new immigrant. First, I applied from the embassy in Beijing, Canadian embassy in Beijing. I filled the form, I pay some fee. Then I need provide every kind of document, means I'm well educated and I'm professional, and also I'm a very good person. I don't have a criminal background and I'm healthy. I passed the healthy check, and I signed a paper document agreement with Canadian government. The document is still very clear state. Are you love Canadian culture? Are you willing to adopt yourself to Canadian culture? Are you willing to work hard, start hard, to contribute what you can contribute to Canada, make Canada a better place to live? All my answer is yes, 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 definitely. I love Canadian culture, so I come. I love freedom speech, so I come to Canada. I love justice, I love fairness, I love equality for everybody. I love freedom, religion, I love everything Canada offers to new immigrants. This is why I come, I pick up Canada. So this is why I came here, I worked really hard, I start my new life. I believe if I start hard, I work hard, I will make my Canadian dream come true. Actually, yeah, I worked in Fort McMurray, I worked really hard, I performed very well. I accepted by my company, converted from contract to staff. That's very, very few people can convert from contract to staff. So this is why I want to say, this society need immigrant, definitely, but legal immigrant. Just how I get accepted to come to Canada. Every person, if they want to come to Canada as new immigrant, they should pass all the legal process, just what process I have gone through. Not illegal immigrant. Yeah. I love Canada, I love Canadian. You guys very good person, honest, polite, hardworking. So, but I think you guys, some are naive. Just because you guys lucky, not like some country, we gone through everything. We gone through communism, socialism, we gone through genocide, we gone through invasion, World War II in China. So we know who's our enemy, who's our friend. I think every Canadian needs to understand who your friend, who your enemy. If some people don't want to adopt your culture, don't love your culture, want to come change you, impose their ideology on us, this is our enemy. We need to defend our country, defend our future. So don't say, oh, we should love everybody. No hate, only love. You need to understand who you to love, who worth your love, who deserves your love. This is your culture. This is your country. Of course, I regard now Canada is my country, my motherland, my home. So I will defend my future, my kids' future. I will defend culture here. So this is why I attend every rally against the MO3, against the C16. This is all somebody radical group want to impose their ideology on us. No, let's unite together, fight back, defend our culture, defend our religion, defend our motherland, defend our freedom speech, defend our equality, fairness, justice. This is our kids' future, this is our future. Everybody have a responsibility to fight, it's a fight. We are facing big problem, we are facing huge problem. Very dangerous. Our culture, if we do nothing, our culture will die. Our future will die. Our kids will live endless darkness.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
The Muslim men hid behind their wives, the women, and the children, and they took a 5-month siege to finally eradicate them. I was just over there now. He's built thousands and thousands of houses for the people the civilians that are left, and they all have air conditioning, 2 bedrooms, wiring and plumbing, and that's out of compassion. But you don't give compassion when you're laying on the floor. When you're laying on the floor with your pockets empty, you don't give compassion from that. You deal compassion is dealt from strength. And we must stand up here. This is what's happening. I see what's happening. All those countries like Myanmar was the only one that was the holdout. All those countries there, Indonesia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, all those countries used to be Buddhist, but now they are Islamic countries. They're taking over the whole world. And if you don't understand this, you don't know what's going on. I got to keep this short. Just before I left last time, that was around June or so, there was a terror attack right in Edmonton, right in my neighborhood, down at the stadium. The guy with the ISIS flag in the back hit the cop, and he stabbed him. He ran up right to where my street is, and he got a U-Haul van. It was from a Muslim-owned depot, U-Haul depot, that we gave them $70,000 startup grant for. So they're using it, and it happened to be available to them. So he proceeded to run people over on Jasper Avenue with that van until he finally flipped it and got caught. And also, when I was in the Philippines a few years ago, I talked to people that were from Europe and Britain and all over, and the closer they were to the Mediterranean, the more worried they were about the invasion. And the farther away they were up to Britain, they were not so worried. But actually, when they come into France and these places, they say, "Don't do it, don't do it." So I mentioned this to Rachel Notley, and she kicked me off her post just for mentioning it. You can't say things like that. You just don't open your mouth. And I'm an anthropologist. Every one of us here, every one of us, our ancestors were black out of Africa. We went to different parts of the world, and the geography that we had to make a living from changed our colors, our statures, our build, changed even our mental characteristics that we had to deal with to make a living, to survive over hundreds of thousands of years. So I'm not. Somebody says you're a racist. Wait. I have Lebanese family with same name, Brian Joseph. Myself, my name is Brian. My father's name is Joseph. The son is Brian Joseph. Lebanese. I have Iranian friends that are over here. I work for them. I go into their homes, break bread with them. They were Jewish, and I have Syrian friends, 10 children, hardworking. I know the names of all of their children, very good friends. I go in their house. But all of them, they were Christians, Jews, and atheists, and all of them ran to get away from Islam. So I was in Red Deer here in 1979. When the oil patch was booming, I was fracking wells right out of Frackmaster, Canadian Frackmaster here. We were running out of here. And until what happened was Pierre Trudeau came along through Banff, and he gave us all a finger, and he gave us a national energy policy. It was just like somebody shutting off the money. It go from Red Deer here down to Calgary. Calgary going east, a big sign with the last one out of here, turn the lights out. If you could rent a house in Calgary, the real estate guy, would you like this house, would you like that house? They didn't care if you were on unemployment insurance or you couldn't pay for it. They wanted somebody to keep the pipes from freezing. That's all they wanted. I work now. Now I'm working a bit. I'm 70 years old, by the way. I work. I remember when Keystone was shut down. Hussein Obama, shut down Keystone, and he wanted us to buy oil from OPEC. We got oil right under our feet here. No, you got to buy from OPEC. So he shut us down. After that, 100,000 workers went out of Alberta, and I got laid off too. And when I got called back to work, and this is dead truth. November the 9th, the day after the American election in 2016, when Donald Trump got in, my phone rang, come on back, we got a little bit of work for you. Now you can hate Donald Trump or you can, but that's exactly what happened. Obama shut us down and Trump's got it open. We're all ready. I hauled pipe around last winter, but we got no big pipe to hook on to. Loads and loads of pipe, Camrose all over, down in Burstock, down way up all over the province. We got all small pipe ready to go in, but we got no pipeline. And isn't that funny? And you think Trudeau bought the pipeline to help us? He bought that just to put it on the side and stop it. Aga Khan is his boss. We know that. Aga Khan, and who's pitching in with him? Naheed Nenshi happens to be the mayor of Oiltown. Well, isn't that handy? And you got Trudeau in Ottawa. And see what's happened in all over the world. We've been giving OPEC billions and billions of dollars a month.
I can ask, what's this got to do with immigration?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Yes, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right.
You're
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Can I speak?
Pardon me?
Could I speak?
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. And then go through on.
The immigration part is those people are still coming in.
Yeah.
So my name is Kathy Wallace and I'm 67 years old.
Closer to the mic, please.
Somebody adjust that for
Thank
her?
you, thank you.
I find the radical extremism that I've heard here today stunning. I would like to see written documentation of every statement that's been made here. to prove the facts because I didn't hear a lot of facts. It's really nice and easy and simple-minded to blame everything on one thing, on one issue, on one problem. Simple-minded.
His name is Trudeau.
So vilifying and attacking one group of people is...
How long are you going to keep your eyes closed?
Hey, you guys, let her speak.
just
You
let her
have your
finish.
chance.
So as
That's
a
all we're
woman,
here for.
we women can at least have some control on the evil in the world. And that's why there's a declining birth rate. Because we don't want to bring children into a world of evil like I've seen here. I find the NCA shameful. And it's not what it means to be Canadian. Canadians are better than this. We're intelligent, and we think things through in complexity, not simple-mindedness. There's a lot of problems in the world, granted, and you've mentioned some of them. And there's lots and lots and lots of solutions. But this kind of negative, adversarial, base, vile attacking of other people is not a solution. And so once again, I would say that as Canadians, I'd like to see more complex thinking, I'd like to see deeper thinking, and I'd like to see you look at the underlying actual problems and come up with real solutions. That's what it means.
Chris, let her speak.
Thank you. That's what it means to be adults, and Canadian adults. And I'm very proud to be a Canadian and to live in Canada, because we are people who welcome everyone and who don't judge and discriminate against others, especially blaming our problems or world problems on a particular group of people. Like, that's just so small. So I would encourage a lot of people in this room, especially the white men, to grow up. Because if you want to blame everything on one group, it would be the white privileged men.
Racism.
Thank you.
Racism. Racism.
Thank you for sharing that.
Not all of us are white men.
Come on, I've already talked, so I've said my piece. Please let everyone finish.
Hi.
It's an open.
My name's Clover. I wasn't planning on speaking, but if we want to use our brains and not our hearts. As a child, I was very into animals. My dream was to win the $1 million, and I would go to every SPCA and rescue all of these animals, which is a great idea. But it's the same with the immigration. We can't afford it. Oh yeah, I'd love to save everybody, and yeah, we can bring them in. What happens when we run out of food? Out of lodging, which we already are. Are we doing them a service? Are we doing ourselves a service? We're killing everybody trying to help those when we can't afford it. We have a low population because we can't afford to have more kids because we're getting taxed and taxed and taxed. Break down the taxes, we would have more kids. We could stay home to raise them. But we have to work 2 jobs just to keep the freaking power on. We have to keep power on because my mother's on oxygen. There's no option. We've gone without food to keep the power on. If you want to increase the population, cut back the taxes, quit giving all our money away. They're just sitting there laughing. I'd vote for Trudeau too if I got free everything. It's ridiculous. You want to save everyone, that's fine. How many have you taken into your home? I ask everyone this. No one. Would you like to? I can't afford it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Wow, excellent.
Yeah, come up.
Come up, that's the best way.
Just let him and then you next. I just have to clarify, yeah, we don't distinguish any groups. I want to be very clear about that. But we do distinguish ideologies. And we don't support ideologies that don't support our civil rights and liberties. It's clear on our website. and that's just reality. And I know some people don't accept that, but it's like what Sonny said, we gotta wake up to the true world out there. We can't have our rose glasses on. Not everyone is our friend in the world. Remember that.
That's right, Steve. Well said.
That was Sonny's message.
Hello everyone, my name is Keith Bolton. In my research and in your deep thinking, and think bigger and deeper, I want to explain exactly what's going on here. Let's go to the source of the problem. Everyone's heard of the term globalists.
Yeah.
The globalists, did you know that the Addams family is based off one of the globalist families? Does anyone tell me what this is? This is the all-seeing eye of Lucifer, 666. The globalists are Luciferians. They are satanic worshippers. You see Miley Cyrus with sex objects on stage. You see all these satanic symbols in the music industry, which is completely controlled by the Illuminati. Now, who is Islam's God?
What does this have
Allah.
to do with mass immigration?
Allah. The reason for this
All right, thank
is
you.
because, okay, Islam's God is Allah, who is the moon god Baal.
Actually, their God's the same as ours.
Baal is also called, Baal is Satan. The moon god Baal is Allah.
You're right. Same.
So they worship Allah, and these globalists are Luciferians. So they teamed up together to create depopulation programs and all kinds of havoc. They want global government. They want the New World Order, right? New World Order. What is that? It composes of 4 items. One world global government for the entire world. One world bank, one world currency, and one world ideology. Who do you think they're going to side with and pick with when Islam worships Allah? Baal. And they are Luciferians. 666, Illuminati. They're the Bilderberg Group. They print our Canadian money since 1974. And they also print the American money. You can see the all-seeing eye at the top of the pyramid on their money. So this is it's all. It's not about Islam. Who are the globalists? Henry Kissinger, George Soros, David Rockefeller. These guys know in these secret Bilderberg meetings, the white papers have come out, that they know that Islam wants their ideology to progress around the world, caliphate. So this is why the mass migration in France, in Europe, in the UK, in Australia, in all these countries, this is why this is occurring. It's not Islam. They are what they are, and the globalists know what they are. But it's a tool of the globalists for depopulation program, for global governance, one world bank, one world currency, and one world ideology. Thank you. I love you all. Thank you very much.
This young lady who's next.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, I can
Your
go on.
patience.
Thank you. So I think what I really, it was interesting to hear all of the facts and very one-sided facts for sure. But what I did not hear over the Facebook videos and today either is that you really emphasized on European migration and European ancestors, and you're really focused on keeping that up. But what was the relationship of the Europeans when they came to Canada with the Indigenous community?
You want me to
So
answer?
you can if you like, but how was it that the Europeans created a relationship with the Indigenous? And if you say, and you do put the word in Indigenous once in a while when it suits, is this what their teachings are as well? So I see a huge disconnect. How is it that the Europeans, when they came to this country, did the Indigenous people let you in? Or what was the relationship like? Because you talked about taking down statues. You did not talk about why are the statues coming down.
We got a girlfriend and had
No,
sex with
that's
her.
excellent.
Yeah, it's a good point.
To that.
I can hit that too.
When the pioneers and settlers came, I've got a fairly good understanding of pre-Confederation. I'm not a scholar. When they came here, I have to correct you.
Sure.
There was no country. There was no Canada.
Yeah, that's true. I'll
And,
get up there too.
It was the pioneers and settlers who created Canada, our laws, our institutions, and the Aboriginal people had some role in that, but they were a very small percentage. They were about 1% of the population at that time. A lot of them were living in villages on reserves.
They migrate.
And they migrate around, nomadic. So there was problems, I agree with you. There was fighting with the French, the English, and the Aboriginals were caught up in that triangle. It was a triangle of fighting. No side was perfect. There was a lot of scalping going on. That's proven.
There's still
And,
racism between
but it is what it is. I never said the history is perfect.
I never said you did.
And we acknowledge that, but these settlers and pioneers created this country. We have to accept that fact.
And those statues and that history, we learn from it.
We
So
learn
don't
from it. We don't want to
repeat
tear
those
down our
mistakes.
history. Our history is who we are.
That's why they're tearing
Can
down
I
these
ask
statues and that is
I have
to
a
erase
pretty
that
good
so
one
the
on
younger,
the
new generations
Indigenous.
don't
I can
Just
answer.
short.
have anything
Yeah,
to
very
base
short.
anything by.
2 seconds, just answer.
Yeah.
Just 2 minutes.
That's how
Just
it
2
goes.
minutes.
Bottom's good.
You can't call
To answer the Indigenous question, like Steve said, before Confederation, going before 1867, we all know about the East Coast, but in the West here, and actually all of pre-Canada, before Canada was official, we know the war in the USA and what happened there and the British and everything that happened. Not one settler settled in Canada until Indigenous signed the treaties. Not one. That is a fact. You can look this up. Not one settler settled in until that was signed. That's a fact.
We have one other gentleman who'd like to speak.
Yeah, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope that answers it.
We did, but
Good try.
yes, for all of us, right? Google is great.
Canadian citizen. I'm Norman Sonico, and I'm a member of the one that hosts citizenship ceremony here in Alberta, in Sariti. And I sing "O Canada." Our main concern now must be this UN compact on migration, because Justin Trudeau is going to sign that on this December 2018. So my question is, what can we do about it?
We have a video on our website on the UN Migration Pact. I went through it myself. I read the whole document and went through it, so I encourage people to look at it. It's very disturbing. It's basically a global world order where citizens around the world have the same rights as we Canadians here on our soil. And they would get access to our healthcare, social services, everything. And we'd be obligated to take X number of migrants in every year. This would erode our Canadian sovereignty. What can we do about this? This is not a binding, this is just an agreement. It's a pact. It'd be easy to get out of it.
Easy.
Right? But just remember, regardless of the UN Migration Pact, there's still this agenda going on of this mass immigration. It is a fact. And I will provide the documents after to anyone who wants to know. This is all based on credible research.
Stephen, just one more.
Sure, I don't want to dominate, but yeah, take a look. It's a concern, the UN Migration Pact, but don't get too concerned over it. It's just another layer to this whole agenda.
That's right. Good job, Steve. Out of power, let's see how far I can get. I'm gonna try and get you.
There are quite a few areas that I would like to address, but I've chosen just a few. One is you mentioned about international students coming here. I don't know if you're aware that the universities themselves do massive recruitment for those international students. They go all over the world to to recruit those students to come in. And international students pay probably 3-4 times more than the students here for the same education. So I just wanted to point that out. They don't automatically get given a job. They have to apply just like anybody else. And it may be that they actually have to return to their own country and maybe even just apply from there. So it's not a given that they would get employment. The issue of segregation, I think, is a huge one. Yes, there are enclaves, and there have been enclaves throughout history of different people from different cultures. But I'd like you to think of why. Why are they drawn to their own people? And one of the reasons for that, I believe, is that we are not being welcoming enough to those immigrants that are coming in. So one of the areas that I think is really important is to be welcoming and inclusive and accept those people of diverse cultures, whether they happen to be the same color as us or not, because you were emphasizing European descent, white European descent. And of course, in recent years, we've had people coming from Syria, we've had people coming from African countries, Iraq, Iran. And so the sentiment that you're giving me, that I'm taking away with me, is that those people are not welcome. That if they look like us, then they are, and then otherwise they're not. With regard to immigration processes, there's very stringent processes that people have to go through, whether they're coming here as a refugee or coming here as an immigrant. Very stringent. It's not easy to come here as an immigrant. I came here as an immigrant 37 years ago. I'm a senior. My son is a veteran. But I don't deny that in terms of humanitarian processes that we should not help refugees. And I stress refugees, not immigrants, that are coming here, because it's a different funding. We tend to think we're giving to refugees, but then we can't give to seniors or we can't give to veterans. They're different pots of money, okay? And with regard to economic benefits, the people, even the ones that are sending money back to their homeland, are working, they're consumers, they're buying houses, they're buying cars, they're contributing to this economy, they're paying taxes, they're paying all the same things that we pay, and then they're trying to save a little bit of money to send back home, or they're sponsoring members of their family to come here. And sponsorship costs a lot of money also. So it's not free to get seniors, or you had mentioned elders. It's not free to bring them here, so it costs money. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I'm not going to repeat what I said. Just, we have to understand that Euro-Canadians, that's the heritage of our country. It's a fact. Our heritage is bicultural, dating back to pre-Confederation, Anglophone, Francophone, and it's grown from there. That is a fact, everyone. Don't forget that. And there's Aboriginal people. That's the starting heritage of Canada.
Does anybody else want to speak?
Can I have one shot, real quick, economics?
Just short.
Real short.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch base on economics. That's why I got into politics. We talk about the mass immigration. People say, oh, I've heard people say, oh, it brings this up in the economy and that. There are two different GDPs. There's real GDP and service sector GDP. Just because you raise service sector GDP does not mean your nation is strong. What you see is the expense side on all budgets. When you increase service sector GDP, expenses go up beyond revenues. And currently that's what's going on in Canada right now. Steve hit some numbers there, and I can break down GDP for anybody, and I can show it in real time and over the last 25 years, and you will see the change in immigration and the cost to GDP. That's it, thank you, but it is real. Go ahead.
Can you please share those numbers to the website, like to the NCA Facebook page?
I don't mind. I'm
With
with a
cited
different.
sources?
Yeah,
Sure.
send it to me.
I will. I'll work with Steve after. I'm with a different party, but we have it on our website, but we'll share.
Yeah,
I'll work with
link
Steve.
it all through, thank you.
Yep.
Who's next?
Good afternoon, I'm Bev. I had the privilege of traveling to Ottawa this summer, and that's where I met Stephen. And I recognize some of you from the community. It's nice to see you. And I did bring this because there is an expense to this. If you've spoken and if you've attended, feel free to, I'm going to pass this around, and feel free to take my keys out. And feel free to donate to this opportunity that a few of the Stephen and his people have provided. One thing that has not been mentioned about immigration or migrants coming, I don't know if some of you followed Mrs. Bibi from Pakistan, who is fleeing. She's been in prison for, don't quote me, under 10 years, around 7 to 9 years, for speaking, a freedom of speech, which we take. What we're doing right here, I'm going to speak for myself. I have taken for granted, and that's why I'm here today. So Mrs. Bibi has been in prison for speaking, I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I'm going to say probably something against Muhammad. And I think it was very minor. It wasn't.
She was a Christian.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's a Christian, but blasphemy, the law of blasphemy it can take a lot of different meanings in Pakistan where she lives. Okay, so she was in prison for 7 to 9 years. She has, through the court system in Pakistan, is guilt-free of her charge, but her head has been asked on a platter. She is fleeing Pakistan for her life. Her family is elsewhere, I'm not sure where, her husband and children, and she is asking to come to Canada. Those who believe when I'm speaking, put your hand up if you would invite her to come to Canada. Amen. Me too. She's a woman fleeing for her life and has done nothing wrong in her court system. This is the freedom of speech. This is the discourse we must have.
That's a refugee. Yeah, that is the real refugee. Right.
This is where.
That's the refugee we should take as Canadians.
These are the people that value coming to a country to live their life, to raise her children, to love her husband. As individuals in Canada, we must not be partakers of discord that cause division. This is what we see across the border. Do we want this? We saw it in the last election. I pray we don't see it in the next election for us, our federal election. Let's be respectful. Let's search our hearts, what our motives are, what our intent is. But rather we should major in our policies, inviting civil dialogue with opponents. Always being willing to settle for nothing but the truth. Not your truth, not my truth, but the truth. Even if it comes from opponents. Even if it comes from someone you disagree. Our labors must always be for the benefit of our country and the people that live in it foremost. Please, let us do our part for ourselves, our children,
our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren. I pray I'll see them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, there's good immigrants and there's bad immigrants. And we have a rule of law. We expect people to follow it. When our government is above the law and can do as they please, as they allow them to walk over the borders, unchallenged, unvetted, unknown, that's a crime. A crime against you, your children, their futures, all of us. It's time we stood up for something. If you can't stand up for this country, get out of it. That's all I have to say.
I wish I had more video power. That was great. Constitution right there.
Oh, one more thing. Now that you mention it, does anybody know the first sentence in the Canadian Constitution? You won't find a lawyer that knows this. You won't find anybody in our government that uses it. But the very first sentence in the Canadian Constitution is, whereas Canada was founded upon principles recognizing the supremacy of God and the rule of law. Meaning, God's law comes first, before man's. Thank you.
The Bill of Rights too. Read the Bill of Rights as well.
Not mine.
The Bill of Rights says the same thing.
All our laws
The first line is God. It's based on God.
You are supposed to be Stephen. Oh, sorry. Next time.
If we don't do something, folks, I'm gonna speak loud. Canada, okay.
Okay,
I'm
if you
sorry.
want to speak, you're welcome to.
Very much, but
Oh, go
religion
ahead.
shouldn't be in our.
Go ahead, this gentleman's up.
Religion
Go
shouldn't
ahead.
be in government whatsoever. Race, nothing. It should be about Canadians, pro-Canadians.
Yeah.
There's white South Africans that are being abused, not even brought over here.
Yes.
So race has nothing to do with this. It has everything to do with the economy, what's going on with the schools. I sang the national anthem in school. I did the Lord's Prayer. I don't give a fuck if it's gone.
Yeah.
I do give a fuck that they're learning something else. I have 3 boys. Why aren't they learning about God? I don't give a shit about God. I don't give a shit about Allah, Muhammad, none of those gods. My God's Odin. I don't give a shit if you don't care about Odin. But Canada has its own set of
We
rules.
stand on guard.
Let him finish.
Canada has its own set of rules. Immigration is all fine and dandy, but like slow it down, single file line. Start at the back. It's as simple as that. Bringing them in for free and everything like that, it's all fine and dandy. You set them up in a hotel for free, they're living there waiting for their turn to get on the line. Meanwhile, Canadians are paying for them to sit there. So, and there was, I heard there was a couple of countries adjacent to their country that is taking in refugees as well. Why don't go there? Why come so far? Doesn't make any sense.
Can
More
you
money.
just describe what it says on your,
Do you know what it says?
I'm asking you.
Okay, well, I'll get on to it, which is, if I wore an upside down cross, nobody would give 2 shits. But if I wore an infidel, what race or what religion is going to hate that? I'm a Canadian, I got free speech, I can wear whatever the hell I want, when I want.
Stephen, can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Please come up.
All right.
Just stay on topic.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, my name is Robert Hayward, Bob, I go by Bob. I'm retired, 4 years. I worked as a steel worker, a railroader, and the last 17 years of my life I was in the oil business. I worked with every nationality around the world. All over, black, white, brown, it didn't matter. And they were all hard workers, good workers. Some of them weren't, but there are some others that are white people aren't good workers. My main focus is to tell you that Canada cannot keep on fixing the world. We have our own problems here.
That's right.
We have 36 million people that live below the frost line, the permafrost. We cannot live in the above the permafrost up north. That's why it's not populated. We can't grow food there. There's no daylight there. So We live along where we live. We only can do so much, it only takes so many people. I have nothing wrong with legal immigration. But we have a government that is criminal. We have a leader that is he belongs in prison. Gerald Bucks belongs in prison. There is no democracy in this country anymore. And that is by the people, for the people. There isn't anything, that does not exist in this country today. I would say in 10 years, there'll probably be civil war of some type. Every country goes through its bullshit, I know, you know, and maybe it's Canada's turn. We're a growing country, or we're a developing country. And we need people, I agree, we need people to come in here because we are not reproducing ourselves fast enough. I'm a baby boomer. When the Second World War was over, my dad and his brothers fought in the Second World War. And when they came back from Europe, the first thing was, I think, what was it? 60,000 Canadians died in the Second World War. Men. Women, nurses as well, I guess, but mostly men. So they had to be replaced. So I'm a product of that. My sister's a product of that. But people have got to wake up to what's going on with this government. There's no government in this country anymore. It hasn't been for 40 years. You can't trust them. What did I see on the internet the other day? This guy is pulling a real fast one again. And there's no one stopping him. Stephen, what's his name is, the leader of the Conservatives, is a weakling. Yeah. He's a weakling. He will not put up a fight to Trudeau. And if we don't, I'm telling you right now, folks, if we don't get people's eyes opened up, what's going on? We're going to get Trudeau again. And if he's in for another 4 years, Canada is done. We're done. And you people on the left that don't think so, just hold your breath. You wait to see what's coming. Yes, I am talking to you, yeah. But I'm telling you, it's I come up here and say 5 seconds. I put on my Twitter page today, I'm a patriot and I'm a nationalist. They're two separate things. Patriot loves his country. A nationalist wants to change things. And that's me. I'm sick and tired of seeing what I'm seeing. That's it, I guess.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Honest from the heart
Yeah, there was.
and the mind.
I
And,
feel exactly how I feel.
I just want people to.
They're welcome.
Let them speak, you guys.
I'm just going to comment. Just be careful focusing all on Trudeau.
Okay.
Forgets the bigger picture. Because this has been going on for decades. It doesn't matter which establishment party.
Right.
Just realize that.
Just turn the top.
It doesn't matter. Those are the facts. Just remember that.
Okay.
Otherwise, you get played back and forth. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
How many people did the Harper government let in?
It's true.
Harper had historic mass immigration, just under 3 million from 2005 to 2015. That Kenny, who's running for our premier in Alberta, it's atrocious. He was bragging about Conservatives letting more immigrants in than Liberals, right? They had historic mass immigration in 2010, over 280,000. A lot of people don't know that under the Harper regime, there was all kinds of illegal migrants flowing across the border. No one said anything. I think one year it was close to 40,000 across the U.S.-Canada border.
Oh, yeah.
And they did nothing. So those are the facts. Do your homework, everyone. And that's why we say be careful, because remember last election, oh, we got to get rid of Harper. Now it's, we got to get rid of Trudeau. And then it's going to be, we got to get, and it's all just back and forth and nothing is changing.
No.
That's right.
But I resonate with what you're saying. I'm a patriot and I'm a nationalist in the sense that I want the best for our country.
Here, here.
So I want to allow other people to speak. Thank you.
Right, Lou.
I'd like to say that, I do not agree with, all your policies and all your actions, but I respect what you're doing here, which is having an open discourse about the truth. Now, one thing I would like to point out, under the hate speech law, which was brought in 1985, I think it's C-46, it lays out what hate speech is. It's a discrimination on race, religion, color, creed, whatever you want to say. But hate speech is, is a problem. I'm not going to deny that. What isn't hate speech is anything that is based on fact. The truth is not hate speech. Facts, statistics can be manipulated one or the other, but you cannot ignore the facts no matter how much it hurts your feelings. Right? Adding to that, under the same agreement, I believe it's 38.18, comes into the Terrorism Act as far as, well, there are several points there. I will start with leaving Canada to join a terrorist organization is a crime in Canada. You cannot ignore that fact. The penalty for that is no less than 10 years. I imagine you could say that they were mentally ill and then you can give them whatever slap on the wrist you want. But the fact is, it's illegal. In fact, people were arrested in Canada for that very crime. And it is a crime. I don't care how much emotion you want to access to. They wanted to go fight and kill our allies, but you can justify that any way you want to. Further to that, committing crimes while you are overseas on a how would you put that? A ghastly level, a immoral level. Let's look at the facts. Burning people alive, cutting off their heads. These are facts. They are all over YouTube. You can watch them. Throwing people off of buildings. Hey, I've seen it. Don't get me confused with, oh, I've seen it on the internet, so it must be true. No, it's also written in the Quran. If you don't like that, read it. It's a fact. Finally, Justin Trudeau, where he comes into this is when you, how do I put this? Our American cousins like to refer to it as aiding and abetting. In Canada, it is referred to harboring terrorists. ISIS is a terrorist organization. Therefore, bringing in ISIS people, providing them with houses, providing them with an income, providing them with help, and whatever other aid that you were giving them is also a crime. That is also punishable by 10 years. This is a fact. It is written in our Canadian code, or our criminal code. You cannot deny this. Go ahead, you can clap. So, I ask you, why is Justin Trudeau still free? Under Harper's Law, he brought in a revision to this, the Terrorism Act, that anybody that messed with our economy for political gain was to be considered a domestic terrorist. Now, you could argue that Trudeau is stupid and he doesn't know what he's doing. Or you could argue that, he's just getting bad advice. I don't think he's smart enough to do this all on his own. Therefore, I would say that I would postulate or put forth the hypothesis. I can use big words. I'm a welder, but I can do it. You can put forward the hypothesis that he is being manipulated by foreign interests to wreck our economy. Once again, this makes him a criminal. He has committed a crime. It's in the books. All you have to do is go Google it yourself. It is there. So everybody that whines about, migrants who aren't fleeing hardship or whatever, they are coming here for money. Refugees have a legitimate, need. They are being forced to other country or they're being prosecuted. Migrants, no. They are coming here for A, either jobs, or B, welfare. Because our culture is better than theirs. And I don't really have a problem with that if you do it legally. Crossing the border where there is a big sign that says you cannot cross here or you will be, sent to the police and then, or the authorities, and then you will be deported. And someone had mentioned the third party thing from the US. If you land in the US, you are not legally allowed to come to Canada. You have to stay where you landed.
Does that include refugee status?
And raising cows so you can survive. That's not a job, that is survival. That's what you do to live. So everybody that's saying, well, these migrants, blah, 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 yeah, do it legally. And then I don't have a problem with it. I don't care what color you are. If you can contribute to our country, so be it. If it takes you 2 to 3 years, to learn the language and stuff like that, fine. But if you cannot do that in a reasonable amount of time, see ya. Why should we support you with our tax money when you don't want to contribute to our society? I mean, is that not part of the pledge when you are an immigrant? You come in, you say, I pledge to Canada, whatever, to this way of life. To come here and say, well, this offends me. Well, you know what? The fact that it offends you offends me.
That's right.
What happens when I'm offended? Nothing. And you know what? I am a minority. I may look white, but I am Métis. I am half white, well, not half, more like 1/16, whatever, But still, I can get my Métis status. I do have, Cree blood running through my veins. And I would just like to point out, white people are not the only race that can be racist. It takes all colors to say it's okay to be black. It's black power. It's Asian power. It's this, it's that. Sure, you can be proud of that. But don't shit on me when I say I am white.
All lives matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say. Thank you. Before I get myself into trouble.
Thank you.
We're not white.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I got a guy online.
Thank you.
A lot of hits on this one. Good job.
I'm almost translucent.
Anyone else would like to share?
I won't.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hello, folks. My name is Corrine Lambert, and I am with the Welcoming and Inclusive Communities Network of Red Deer. And really, I just wanted to get up here because I know there's a dozen cameras, tons of people watching. And I just wanted to say hello to our community, and thank you for being you. Thank you for being strong in the face of negative messages. Know that this is not representative of everyone, that sitting in this room, you may not see it, I see a dozen faces, and I was so heartened to see from our network, from our community, from counter protests in the past that we've seen take place. And it just makes me very happy. We do support immigration. We do support newcomers to Canada. We support our community members, regardless of their religion. As proud as some people might be to have made it uncomfortable enough to drive folks out of this room today, we do support our community members. There are lots of people out here that do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for coming up.
Yeah, I'm from Burma, right? Burma is like a really bad country. Like a lot of people, like civil war still going on. We fought hard like against the communists, right? We also like fought against the so-called Rohingya. Rohingya is like Muslims. They come from Bangladesh. Those people, they came to Burma. It's with huge numbers, right? These people, they cause a lot of problem. They started raping like Buddhist Burmese women, and after that, they brutally murdered them, right? These people, they don't know how to live together, like us. We came to Canada for a better future, for a better life, because we want peace, we want freedom, right? Those people, they don't know freedom. They listen to one thing, that is, from the Quran. To be honest with you, I want to cry, because those people, they're not human. I'm not saying, all of them, but a lot of them, they're not human. They're thinking that, caliphate is the only thing. They want caliphate. They want to rule the whole world. We don't want that. Canada is a peaceful country. This is our home now. Our Asian community will stand up with you with that. No matter what. Mass immigration. Most of people from United States, they came here, they were murderers, criminals. They caused a lot of problem, like back in Toronto, like couple shootings, right? Those people, they listen to the Quran. Their Quran is killed like non-believers. So when they die, they think that they will see like a 72 virgin in heaven. What the hell is that? These people are crazy. They are not like normal people like us. So that's all I gotta say to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Win.
I'm back. Yeah, I'm going to try and help you understand what we're trying to do, because I think it gets lost on the left and the right. The left see us as we don't want immigrations, we don't want new people, we don't want anything. That's not true. We want legal immigration, legal people coming here. When I see these foreigners coming to our land to escape this oppression, and then we're in the next day inviting the people that are oppressing them in, is wrong. They came here to escape that. All we're asking for is vetted, health-checked individuals, not bringing diseases into our country, not bringing crime into our country. All the rest, the ones that want to take part. Our first mosque was built here in Canada in 1930. Did you have a problem with it? I didn't. Any of you have a problem in the last 30 years? It's only been the last 3 that we've had a problem. The last 3, they're just letting anybody in. Come on in. If you're feeling so good about letting people in, I want to follow you home and see if you lock your door tonight. Yeah. How will you feel if I walk in? I'm not hurting nothing. That sounds like a fun I'm just warming up. I'm not bothering anything. Don't get mad. Are you going to want me there? No. Just like we don't want them walking in. Knock on the front door. We'll invite you in. We'll give you a frickin' coffee. We'll take care of you. but just do everything by the law.
Excellent point, and thank you, Wynn, for sharing real-life experience.
You're welcome.
Again, I stress people to look at Europe and look what's going on there. Even Hillary Clinton went out and said what a disaster that massacre created in Europe. Can you believe it? That's where it's come to. So what will it take for Canadians to wake up, I ask? So start researching Europe. Look into Sweden, which is similar to Canada. Sort of a pseudo-socialist country. Look into that one, and you'll see the stuff going on there. It's just the facts.
And they were just like us, open welcome
Sure.
arms.
I'd just like to make a quick point. As far as the Rohingya and that stuff goes, I mean, they migrated there, they didn't immigrate. And I'd just like to make the point, how terrible do you have to do, or do you have to be, to piss off Buddhists?
Yes, that's it.
One of the most peaceful religions on the earth, and not just like a religion of peace with air quotes. No, Buddhists are some of the most peaceful people and most serene that you would ever meet. How bad do you have to be to force Buddhists to kick you out of their country? That's all I gotta say. Just a question.
Hold on a
Video of Henry Kissinger, and he talks about how they, the globalists, know that they, what we call terrorists here, are just radical fundamentalists of the Islamic kind. And he has his accent, and they know that when they bring them here, it's going to be nothing but a cultural clash.
Yeah.
And around the world.
You know what's worse about the Rohingya Islamic
Crisis.
issue?
Yeah.
You know what's worse? Is that our country's completely ignored these South African farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are facing, it's bordering almost a genocide right now.
Yeah.
There's farm attacks every day. Seniors
Yeah,
are
real
getting
big.
tortured, children are getting tortured, women are being gang raped and murdered.
Who's aware of this in this room?
And we've done nothing as a country. In fact,
We actually refuse them as refugees.
yes, and the foreign aid to that South African regime is just steady. Even under Harper, just steady, nothing.
Because they were.
This is unacceptable, this is hypocritical. And let's spread this message for the South African farmers. We've done a vigil on it, we're going to do more videos on it. But I'll tell you, if there's ever oppressed people in the world, it's these Boers. You know what Boers mean? Farmer, peasant.
Farmer.
And they didn't steal that land, if you look at the history. They purchased it from African tribes. They never stole it.
And they enriched it.
And they enriched it, and now they want to take it without compensation. This is off message. But again, this is something we would prioritize, because if there's a people truly in need now, it's these South African farmers. And I'm sorry to say it, white South Africans in genocide, white South Africans in general. It's,
We're facing
I don't want to
just
get
like
mixed up with
Zimbabwe.
white black, but it's just a reality. There's a reverse apartheid going on. And it's
And the
sickening.
forced immigration of those
Stephen,
white indigenous people.
they applied to come to Canada, those farmers. Trudeau turned them down.
Yeah, that's horrendous. But no one's saying anything. There's not even an order.
Set them loose in Alberta, give them a chunk of land or Saskatchewan, and let them grow something and be productive.
We are not going to hear
Bring them
anything
here.
in the media.
Do your research on them. There's good documentaries out there. It's very sad.
It's done in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zimbabwe.
It's just a redo.
Yeah, come up. We're gonna wrap it up in about 10 minutes. We've gone over, but we're gonna let this gentleman speak. Thank you, sir, for coming.
Make sure you get the mic. My name is Thomas, or as Stephen knows me, Antifa guy.
You're Antifa guy?
Can't hear you.
I'm Antifa guy.
Hi,
All
Antifa
right,
guy.
excellent. Let's hear this.
I'd like to thank the members of CARE for coming tonight. I appreciate that they saw this as an opportunity to show that we won't let such a rhetoric be exposed in our city. I'm sorry for the members who had to leave due to just their general disgust.
Canada, we're free.
I appreciate that.
Speak freely.
Go ahead.
Should switch sides, brother.
I think you're doing the mic, I can't hear what you're saying.
We want you on our side, buddy.
Mike's.
Is it on? Or maybe not touch it?
Yeah,
I think you turned the mic off.
not very good at technology, honestly.
No, no.
Or someone
No, it
turned
was,
off.
where it was just.
It was.
Test.
Yeah, it's off.
Time to go home.
Try again. Hi.
You only had the red paint till 3:30, Stephen.
Well,
I guess we're all gonna speak.
Oh, you just have to speak up, I guess.
Could you enunciate about where
We're censoring him.
No.
Hey.
Speak up, I guess you're gonna have to speak up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can see that a lot of people who are here today are more on Stephen's side than we have more of the refugee appreciating people. I don't have a lot to say. I'm not really professional when it comes to this. I leave that to the care board and people who are paid to do this. But I would appreciate, Stephen, if I could interview you in the parking lot afterwards. I know you did an interview with CTV. I think it would be fantastic to get a one-on-one interview with you. Sure. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, we've gone over, so we're gonna have to wrap this up. It's kind of ironic, the mic,
Okay.
but,
What happens?
you know,
Can I say something?
yeah, one last thing, sure. But I want to thank everyone for coming out. We appreciate, this isn't about right or wrong. It's just, we're having a dialogue and let's, we encourage people not to personalize it. Just think about the different issues and,
Canada for.
yeah, hopefully you come to a
This
better
was
understanding.
fantastic, Steve. I have to
Yes,
say.
thank you.
It was.
People check
I
how
don't, you know,
Start.
yeah, and to first changing.
being independent.
I know myself, I've grown as a Canadian today and I'm grateful to
Let me give you contact information.
Exactly.
If we do nothing in the future.
I want to get the video. I want to get his.
I bet you if they don't come together, there's not gonna be anything.
I wish they were on a-
Everybody's gonna come together.
You know, it's out in Calgary, those big signs that say, "Well, we're not."
Yeah.